Well, hello everyone. I'm looking forward to sharing an overview of AI, design, and packaging. Again, my name is Gerardo Herrera, and I'm the Director of Packaging Design at Art Center College of Design, as well as our new MDes Brand Design and Strategy program online. In my own practice, I'm the head of brand experience at Design Studio Nuevo, where we work on developing technologies, new products, brand solutions for some of our global clients, as well as new ventures and startups. Yes, I love science fiction movies. And I had this wonderful opportunity many years ago to build a global brand design team at Nokia Design. That's where I got to learn a lot about new technologies, innovating for the future, and just getting my love for being an early adopter of tech. So, yes, wouldn't you know it, this is what I grew up with. Yeah, these little robots or or giant robots. Yeah, many years later, I was able to work on a lot of fun design technologies such as AR and, of course, my own Johnny Soko watch, for example. Um, so today we're going to go over some of the basics, just insights and techniques, just in the workflows that I utilize and how I've also incorporated that into some of uh, my students' work as well. So one of the first things, like beginning of or the end of last year, I was really delving into all this and trying to wonder, wow, how is this going to affect what I do as a designer? How's that going to affect my students? And I really started to delve deep into this and got to work on this as many hours as I could to kind of figure out, like, all right, how does this work? How does this new tool work? And how am I going to utilize this in my own practice? I started to, of course, focus in on packaging and look at how I would take the packaging and put it into people's hands and create different types of imagery to keep it into context. See that I can, manipulate it in such a way, and it was magic in a sense. And so that got me thinking. In order for me to do this, I wanted to see what other creatives were out there doing, and it was great because I just reached out to a few to say, "Hey, what are you up to?" Sherry Horowitz, I got to see what she was doing on LinkedIn. My friend Evilio Matos, from his Packaging Unboxed podcast, got to learn about what he was doing and say, "Hey, what are you up to with this?" Brian Skites, who's a brand architect, or Lori Lee, who's a brand photographer. These are all colleagues that I've got to know on LinkedIn. Terry Campbell, who is a food photographer, generates AI generated backgrounds for his packaging and his models, and I thought that was really interesting workflow that he was developing. Likewise, got to learn a lot from Chris Branch and Paul Parsons over at Seedly. They just recently were one of the 4 AI artists who got to work with Coca-Cola, utilizing their assets to create their campaign with OpenAI. Jeffrey, who looks at it from a colors, materials, and forms perspective. Or one of these architects, Daro, that I look at, who are using Stable Diffusion and ControlNet to really control what they're after. I always tell my students, look at what's happening in transportation and product, and what are those designers doing there. And of course, my friend Javier Palomares, who's a furniture and product designer, exploring his furniture and modeling as well. And one of my former students, who graduated many years ago and about 6 years ago developed his own brand platform called Showed AI. And it all deals with brand intelligence, meaning your business, your assets, your content securely working with his software. So that got me thinking, what are the goals that I'm going to do, not only for myself, but also even for education? And so one of the things I was thinking, well, okay, let's see how I'm going to approach this. And I thought, well, maybe our first goal would be, what if I could take a AI package, right, a 2D image, and turn that into, for example, a die line, right? So I can take that, turn that into a die line, and put it into like Esco or Pacdora, and then cut that out on our Kongsberg table so that we can have something very tangible. How cool will that be? Um, Second goal, what if I could take that exact same AI 2D image and see if it could be read by some software that then could be printed in 3D and maybe cut our time? So I thought, okay, that would be really interesting if I could do that. All right, so today what I want to go over with all of you is just top level, right? Midjourney and Discord, some packaging workflows, and maybe some experimentation with some prompts. So few desired takeaways I would like you to walk away with is how might this be used in your own workflow? What sort of practical examples can you think of when I'm showing you that you could apply this to? And how might you adapt or adopt some AI tools? And then, of course, some of the creative exploration processes that I'm going to take you through. Some pretty exciting stuff, very basic. So later you can work on more advanced things. So in my design process or workflow, I'm just going to look at this at the early phases. So we're going to just focus in on the blue area. Yes, I know we could use ChatGPT in the front end, and there's some other things that we use on the back end. But right now, in this particular area, it's really about utilizing for inspiration, right? And so again, I wanted to show you some of my first early attempts towards the end of last year when I was working on this. And I was like, okay, how do I do this? And I was working on a granola package with a kangaroo. And so I thought, oh, let me just put that in a granola package on a tube with a kangaroo face on it. Okay, that came out about 8 months ago. Then 4 months ago, I did the exact same one. And okay, I didn't get the kangaroo, but I got some interesting photography. And then I just did it just recently, and I think I got a rabbit. I think it's a rabbit, I'm not quite sure. So, but I also did this with Dolly back in November too, at the same time, because I was just experimenting with all this. I saw a lot of like I said, a lot of people doing this as well as my colleagues, and I said, oh, let me do the same thing. I wanted a peace sign with a kangaroo, and well, it kind of got a little goofy, but all right. But as I just kept exploring and kept learning as much as I could, 24/7, really on this thing, I got at least the imagery that I was looking for. But my paleo kangaroo turned into this paleo dinosaur. So okay, well, at least I got what I was after and getting close in terms of kind of the imagery and the photography styles and so on. And of course, all of that you saw earlier was generated with Midjourney. There's going to be a lot of other programs I'm going to show you as well, but I think all of you are very familiar with Midjourney now. And yes, it's at 5.2 right now. I'm not going to go through all the latest, newest things for 5.2. Again, I want to keep it at that top level so you can kind of see the various things that I'm working through. Yeah, for Midjourney, it uses Discord. For those of you who are not familiar with Discord, or for those of you who are not familiar with Midjourney, I put some links in here for you to jump in there and utilize that. For that. So one of the things to talk about using AI, and I've been talking this with agencies as well as my own students, is just thinking, okay, how do we use this in our own workflow? Just think of this as just another tool at this moment. Can you generate content inspiration for packaging and consumer targets, mood boards, environments, digital media? And you've been seeing a lot of that happening. But I think one of the things just to really take note of is really work with your legal team and your your IT team as well to understand your use cases. I think this is going to be really critical because of where we're all at right now with the legal implications of all of this at this moment. So also utilize your methodology. And if you're working on your own, well, great. Then think of this as Tony Stark and you working with Jarvis, right? This is a great way to spitball ideas and go back and forth. So you have an AI peer. Another thing is, remember, let the ideas flow. In your own creative approach, we've all used mind maps. We've all used different types of tools to, post-it note sketches and so on. But, the wonderful thing about AI that I've noticed is that the prompts that you put in there can sometimes be random and lead to other things, sort of like a mind map. But I think when we look at what you all do, what we all do, it's about applying your design knowledge and how you articulate that to your interns, your design team, your photographers, because you know your own style references, and I think that's what makes it really unique because of your own language in terms of how you talk about what you're looking for in regards to packaging types, photography. So I wanted to conduct a workflow experiment here with what I was imagining how I might approach this. And so I thought, okay, what if I take, just very simple things that I can do really quickly with this: target consumer, photo illustration boards, directional themes, and I gave myself a 2-hour time limit. What could happen? And so remember that granola I told you about earlier. Well, we were working with an Australian founder, and I really wanted this. We were working through it, so I utilized this brief to kind of work backwards to see what would happen. Yes, I imagined a target consumer. It's, I wanted 12 Gen Z fitness instructors with granola. That was my prompt. And so this is what came back. And again, this is very part of the early part of the year. So there was some goofiness that was starting to happen, as you can see. But with those images that were quickly generated, I was able to pull together a very quick board for this. Next thing, I started to look at illustration and photo style. Now, one of the things I started to do was going, oh, Australia Outback. Now, I don't know what for you, but it brings out a certain color, right? And I know if I put in just regular Australia, I would get different kind of hits. But there's a particular color because my kangaroo was orange. And so this is what I put in there. And it came back with different illustration styles. And then, of course, one of the things is I started to get my kangaroo that was starting to piece out. And here he is. And that was fun. So, all right, again, kept with the Australia Outback, but this time I wanted textures, materials, and patterns. And so, again, whether these animals are real or not, I'm just looking at the materials and the color and the pattern that come together with that. And so then I decided just to create just an overview, like an overview theme. And so I did a very simple one of Australia Outback. And then I did another one, which is Outback, Australia, kangaroo, kookaburra bird, right, acacia trees. Well, it came back with these things, and I didn't ask for a truck, but I went with it. Felt very much in keeping, I think. I don't know. I just would have imagined that. And then once I've got all those pieces, I decided, okay, so let me just do the same thing. Australia Outback, wooden crate, kangaroo. And okay, it's not exactly wooden crate, but it's wooden and it's got some interesting imagery on that. And that was fun to see within that exact same color. Likewise, it did it with another set that I ran. And then I decided, well, what if I can test it with a different variety of packs? And so I said, okay, granola pouches, tins, boxes. And so you can see what it came back with. And I did get my kookaburra bird and some weird kangaroo that looked like granola. But again, all of that was fun. So I took that workflow experiment and I provided that to my advanced packaging students at the beginning of the year, just to see what they would come up with and what they would do. They didn't give a real instruction, but they're pretty advanced. So they've got a lot of this experience in terms of just, getting the kinds of materials needed, but not in the AI world, right? So gave this a shot. And this is just a student case from my student, Janine Hernandez. So here's her work. So what she did is she took a variety of different programs. So one of them was Sharpen Design Generator to suggest a product for the category, and then Playground AI to fine tune the prompt for Dolly and Midjourney. And so here it is. And so here she went ahead and utilized, Sharpen Design, came back, hey, design a card game for a zoo. The target audience is children 2 to 5. And so then she wanted to get a product for a 2 to 5 year old target. And so she chose, a card matching game based on the different suggestions from Playground AI. So what she decided to do was also test Dolly and Midjourney just to see what kind of references would come back. And you can see one's more expressive and one's pretty straightforward. Likewise, she did that with her directional boards. And then, of course, she looked at it from, focusing on Midjourney only because she liked the expressiveness of that. And then looked at her packaging round 1, round 2, round 3, and of course, her final pack. Now, this is just meant for exercise and inspiration. I really wanted them to understand the tool. See, just like when Adobe Photoshop first came out, right? Like an Illustrator. I just wanted them to make sure they had that under their belt. This is not something they would show in their portfolio, but it's something to work in terms of the front end parts of inspiration and development. So you saw that she was working and testing out like Dolly and Stable Diffusion, or Dolly and Midjourney. Well, let me just show you a little bit here, just very basics. Here's Stable Diffusion, Dolly, and Midjourney. And so each one of these have been trained on different data sets. So each of them have their own respective strengths, as you can see here. So what did I do? I wanted to kick in the tires to see with a basic prompt, nothing fancy, just to see what each one could do just with that. And so I said, packaging design for animal cracker cookies. Here's what Dolly, Stable Diffusion, and then Midjourney came back with. You can really see the difference. Well, the new Firefly that's out, and hopefully you've been really working with it. Um, I tried it also with the new Firefly, and this is what it came back with. Again, basic prompt. Just start with the basics. And then here's the overview. All right. But you know what? Each of these can produce really great results. It's just a matter of how you write your prompts, how they like it. So that's part of the overall. That's part of just the overall experimentation and exploration that we as creatives have to look at, or everybody has to look at. So you've probably heard me say keep it simple, and that's it. Start simple. Don't try and write big things right away. Just start simple and see what you can and see what comes up with. Because some of these things have gotten a lot stronger now. In fact, Midjourney is super strong. So these others. So just start simple and just kind of look at the order of your words too. And I'm still kind of looking and playing with that. Like for example, animal cracker cookies, animal cracker packaging versus packaging design for animal crackers. I didn't see quite a big difference, but sometimes you'll see some things move. Also, I tried one with white plastic packaging cosmetic tube, but it came back with, some other kind of artifacts on it that I didn't want. So that then told me, oh, I guess I got to use a different language like plain, or for example, here, an amber Boston bottle with no graphics, labels, or identifying marks of any kind, white background. And once I got that, then I just substituted the amber bottle to aluminum can to white cosmetic jar, and of course, I wanted to try it out with paper. So, but I kept everything else the same. So keep it simple, and then you know how to build from there. So this is coming right out of Midjourney's user guide. But really, what I'm showing you here is just the way it's broken up: image prompt, text prompt, and parameters. So the image prompts like the descriptors, your style and influence, and then the parameters. Parameters are like, well, how's it shot? Is it with a camera, or in this sense, I wanted a specific aspect ratio, 16:9, so I created a specific aspect ratio. Another way to look at it or think about it is think of it as imagine, and you say style of whatever style that you're thinking about. I like to stay away from artists, like calling out specific artists. I'm not comfortable with that yet. I really think it's just figuring out how you develop your particular words to create the style that you're thinking about. Then there's how you convey that idea, what's happening. And then there's design art language, knolling, isometric. These are all things that you all know and probably have a lot more expertise, right, than others or myself, and just because of all your knowledge that you've had. Another great thing is that part of the Midjourney user guide, they show you here how it's broken up into image prompts or multi-prompts, and then of course, if you're interested in aspect ratios, now with the new Midjourney, it's the aspect ratios are whatever you want at this moment, it seems like. So the multi-prompts could be something like a hot dog, and you're going to get a hot dog. If you want, again, these are great user guides. So you put these two semicolons in between. If you say hot dog, it's going to be an image of a dog that's hot. So these are these little technical things that, again, I highly suggest you go and learn from the user guides themselves. Okay, so let's go over with a bit of workflow examples, and I'm gonna, again, just keep it simple so we can see how this works. All right, so I use this a lot in the pre-development stage for creative. These are visual drivers. This is where I look at crafting prompts for colors, materials, and finishes for how I might want to then create my packaging, sort of like I showed you in the very beginning, right? So in this example, I'm looking for a directional for packaging. And so here I'm looking at different types of artifacts, whether they be, a car, a type, a material. And so once I've have that set up in my prompt and I then utilize it, consistently for different types of artifacts, then I'm able to then use that and apply it for some packaging. And you can kind of see the references there that start to come up from it. Here's the second directional as well. All right. So that's on visualizing that, but let me take you to, also just top level of ChatGPT. I think, again, you've seen a lot of this already, and hopefully a lot of you have been playing with this. for those of you who haven't been and or are just starting to get into it, again, there's some great resources out there for you to take a look at that. And so you can use this as an expert emulator. And I would say use ChatGPT 4 on this. And so here you can train ChatGPT to create your prompts and automate that. I found this amazing YouTuber online, Josh Cross, Kaizen AI, and he had the script. You can go to his link. I put the link in here for all of you, and it's not just him; it's others as well. But he has a link. You can download it on his Google from his Google Drive, and you can go ahead and use that script, and then of course apply your words, your design methodology, your thoughts in terms of what you want. And the idea is by doing this script, you can be very specific. And he wanted 3 different styles to come out of it. And so again, he's training it based on what Midjourney likes. And then of course, he then describes what he wants it to come back with. And like I said, 3 different pieces came out. It's excuse me. And so then what we did here was a packaging design. Well, sorry. So what I did here was I just wanted to test this out. Packaging design, a modern cosmetic skincare line. And it gave me 3 different ones, a conceptual one, an artistic one, and a digital one. Well, here's the artistic version for the prompt that I chose that his script pulled out. And it's for a modern skincare science apothecary feel. And this is what it looks like. Pretty crazy. I mean, that's a lot of words, but it's there. So then I decided, hey, why don't I try it with tequila? Why not? I like tequila, but I don't think tequila likes me. But here it is. And so it was really interesting because it came back with, what we would see as a typical idea, right? From a contemporary bottle of tequila. Or the secondary one was a digital rendering, and it had a lot more to do with a geometric glass structure. So we have our modern and our what you would see as a typical tequila bottle. I thought that was interesting. Okay, so what if we don't want it to train? What if we don't want to train ChatGPT, but just use our words? And that was another experimentation that I did. And I think, try this out and see what happens. It's interesting because some of these models, whether it's Stable Diffusion or DALL-E or Midjourney, et cetera, can also kind of play with the words that you're utilizing. And again, it's all experimentation. So I just asked for, with no training, I just asked to describe in short form a bottle of tequila. The green part, I put in some stylization parameters so I can get kind of the imagery that I was after. But other than that, it just kind of, gave me this, nice sentence. And then I asked for a longer form. So give me another longer story of a bottle of tequila. Then this was really interesting with what it came back with. It's like, raise a toast to adventure and discovery with a sip of our limited edition tequila. I mean, it's a story. And what it came back with was, gosh, looked like to me some adverts, which allowed me to think, I can even use this for e-commerce banners and other things that I could look at. But it's given me some very quick ideas for this, for inspiration. All right. Another way to prompt this is the following. So for quick ideas, right? So what if you were to take an existing image, take a photograph of something, and it can provide you quick directions. So here for this example of chips, I decided, okay, I'm going to use the image as part of the prompt in Midjourney, which some of you have already tried, I believe. And if you haven't tried this, it's fun. And I said, okay, Aztec pattern style packaging design for tortilla chips. And here it is. And it gave me quite a few different examples. I go, that was interesting. Another way to look at this too is, using sketches, using Sketch as a prompt. And there's some great tools out there. I'm going to show you the Midjourney, and I'm going to take you through some others as well, because I want you to see those. There's a lot of them coming out. It's just a matter of which one you decide you want to use in your overall tools. Okay, so here's using Midjourney. And here's a former student of mine, Olivia Patton-Click. And here's her sketch. And so what I wanted to do was, I used her image, and I said, okay, render in ultra-realistic detail with highly polished metal. And look at this. It's like, whoa. I mean, I think some of us know how long it would take us to do some of this very quickly. It didn't copy it exactly, but it gave at least the idea from a material perspective, because that's what I was after, to see what it would do. I know if we kept playing with it, it might be interesting to see what it could do. But there are other programs other than Midjourney, such as Viscom AI, which is being used by product and transportation designers, etc. And so here's my sketch on the left. And then I asked for a modern cosmetic glass bottle, black cap. Okay, in a studio setting. And like you can see, I also looked at various colors too. This is pretty wild to see this. Now, I also on Viscom I used my mouse, my computer mouse, and I just sketched it. I'm sure if I used an iPad with my digital pen, yeah, of course, it's going to get a lot tighter. But just is just showing you what we could do with a mouse. And of course, I asked for black cap, black glass, and it put it together this way. Or another one you can try, and I think you can go to GitHub for this. This is Replicate, Replicate Scribble Diffusion. And so again, here I just used my mouse and I sketched it. And what I wanted was, a glass bottle with a black cap and a white background, and which was really fun because this is what it came back with. And you can see, you saw that being developed. So that's that one. Here's another one by Replicate. So this is Replicate's Control Net Scribble, which is really interesting to see. And so again, I took one of my sketches, dropped it in. I asked for, of course, a nice aluminum finish to it. And this is what it came back with. Pretty wild, huh? Okay. So here's that same one again, but this time, without the animation. So you can see my sketch, and you can see I asked for it in purple and I asked for it in gold. So now what I'm getting to understand here is, I can now really control what I want in terms of my bottle and my sketch, but now I can really play with materials pretty quickly. And it's just only getting better. I mean, it's not just these guys, there's some other amazing programs that some amazing coders are coming up with. So, okay. Let's look at again from an AI 2D image to form structure, just so I can see, in hand. Is it possible? Remember goal number 2 I told you for what I wanted to do for Art Center? Well, here is an image that's in of course, Midjourney. And so what I'm showing you here is my particular workflow that I combined a variety of different tools. So image enhancer, and then also found this great tool called Cadem AI, and it turns 2D images into 3D models. It's been around for a while for the entertainment and character design industry. And so that allows me to then take that Cadem model and drop it into any one of those CAD tools that we're all very familiar in utilizing, from basic to advanced. So again, image, an image enhancer, then put it into Cadem. Now, it took about 38 to 40 minutes to come back with this model that you see here. What was really impressive is that it gave me the body and the cap. How cool is that? So when you think about this, and we look at this again, I was able then to take that 2D image that came out of Cadem, and I was able to put it into one of the very simple programs that we utilize, Adobe Dimensions, right? And that's part of your CC suite, your Adobe CC suite, and put the materials to it. I can really quickly put in the imagery and then render it out in any kind of material I want. That's exciting to really see. I love Adobe Dimensions because it's very simple to use. The learning curve is very quick on that. The next one is Blender. You could see how you could use that in Blender. I think those of you who are using it as open source, and it's a great program. But I just wanted to show you the kind of output that Cadem produces, so that you can utilize it in programs like Blender or Adobe Dimensions or SolidWorks, etc. So here's where I wanted to take you to that goal number 2. So here's the overall process. So we took it into Rhino. Now you can do Rhino or SolidWorks or Cinema 4D, whichever one you're comfortable with, but Rhino works pretty well. And then of course, I also took it into Keyshot so you can talk about materiality. And so here's the first one. So took it into Rhino, had Javier Palomares, friend of mine that I told you earlier, and to kick in the tires to make sure that the model was tight from Cadem. And it was a great model, which allowed us to play with it in SolidWorks, or sorry, key shot. And you can, then you can really control it the way you want in terms of materiality. And you can do this also with Substance as well, Adobe Substance. But then, of course, he then was able to use that and scale it, manipulate it further by turning to a sub-D model. And of course, we got it printed. And I got to see that in hand. You know how many minutes we shaved off, or time? And here it is in my hand, as you can see. So it was pretty amazing. So many seconds up front for just prompting it. Then, of course, scaling it, and then putting it in the Cadem, and then finally just printing it and getting it ready. Getting it ready for print, I should say. So great. This is great to see this in terms of, even if I put in my own sketches and control it, this is an amazing workflow that I'm going to continue to keep utilizing in different ways and experimenting with it. Okay, now we've all seen, prompt image to video. Those are a lot of fun, right? So, for example, I'm going to show you this because I think what it allows me to do from a packaging perspective, or even any design, and you guys can do this too as well, is just think of it like fast visualization of concepts. It's going to take an image to video and it's going to string something together. Kind of like this, right? I wanted to go from one form to another, from one materiality to another, and I could stop this at any point I want and pull some things out that seem very interesting. I mean, I would have to kind of generate very differently in other programs, but I thought this is an interesting way that I could utilize it for fast visualizations, right? And so that also takes me to, like, I wanted to go from a pouch to a container. And I also want to see how you can see very quickly how type is being played with and so on, even with illustration. You can see the various illustration and little artifacts that are starting to be created by all of this, which I thought was really insightful to see. And I go, oh, okay, that's an interesting way to treat that. So, and again, you can do this with any of that. And this could be turned into a workflow for creating some really nice social reels for whatever you're up to, right? So I also looked at how might I see this with taking a package and then seeing how all the other pieces turn into packaging as well, or even putting it into a model, going from a model to a cartoon or a model to an animation, just to kind of see it and put it in the context, which started to create some more ideas to go, oh, how do I use this to create other things for that? Now, all those were used by Kyber AI. This is Genmo AI. And Genmo, what it allows me to do is I can also be very specific. And I was in this particular area was with gold, right? So I was really playing with the gold area. And so that's all I wanted animated. So that's Genmo AI. So you saw Genmo and Kyber. Okay, those are really good to look at. And yes, you can use some of the other ones too, Runway ML. All of them, just practice and play. See what you get. Okay, by now, all of you should already be playing with Photoshop Beta. If you haven't, and even with Illustrator too, but if you haven't, what I'm going to show you right now, this thing changes so quickly that even this program that I'm showing you today, it's going to be videoed, right? It's just things, it'll change, but I think the basics are here, and that's what I wanted to do. So, okay, here's the Photoshop Beta. So I took that same image and I wanted to extend it and see, okay, I want to try those experimentations that are out there. My ultimate goal was to see what I could do with the generative part and see if I could take this exact same package and put that into a cosmetic counter. And so you'll start to see me here, select the image. And then from there, I type in what I want in the background. I want it to be dropped into a cosmetic luxury background or a cosmetic background merchandising display. And then within a few seconds, it's here. And I'm going, wait a second, all that work that I was doing and all the others, it's like, here it is. Which then, of course, I'm going to show you this part, which is photo compositing, which is another workflow, but that Photoshop still is kind of blowing my mind here. So let's look at this one. So Photoshop compositing. So this is not Photoshop. This is just Midjourney. So I wanted a kitchen counter for my granola, right? And so I just asked for a white kitchen counter, close up view shot of a modern white kitchen counter. Again, keep it simple, and this is what you can get. And so, it gave me a couple, and I kind of chose this one. I thought this would work really well. I took that image and I dropped it into, yes, Adobe Dimensions. And because I was already working on Adobe Dimensions with my granola pack, which is a model, I dropped it in there and, of course, rendered it out. And here it is. So that's one way to do very quick models, right, in your workflow. And that was Adobe Dimensions. Here's what we all know how to do. I just shot this with my iPhone. So I shot the bag with my iPhone, took the Mid-Journey kitchen, and of course I just combined that and photo composite that in Photoshop. Okay, that's another one. And then I decided, all right, I got to give this a shot. So I took this into a Photoshop beta. And of course I asked for the white kitchen counter. So it gave me this. And I didn't like that bowl there. So I thought, well, why don't I just put a bowl of granola and see what happens? And remember, you got to do it in the right proportions. So you got to know your proportions here. And so it gave me 3 variations. Okay, I'll go with that. I wanted to extend a little bit more of the background, kind of screwed up a little bit. That's okay, because I wanted to put a glass of orange juice in there to see if it could do that too. And yes, it did put in the glass of orange juice. And again, remember, try and get the heights right so you can get the proportions. So I like that glass of orange juice. And I need to get rid of that, weird little background faucet thing. And I did forget that dollop of yogurt. And so it gave me the yogurt. Okay, now you got to see all the variety of ways you can do what you can do. But Photoshop and Adobe are doing something really interesting here that I think you can all start to go, all right. So that was that part of the photo compositing and possible ways that you could utilize this. Another way that I know we all work in is, how do you tell photographic story arcs that you can then present to your photographer, so that back and forth your photographer can work. I know we work with image swipes and so on, or stock photography, and yes, I wanted to see what would happen if I utilized AI. And so again, I went back to the Gen Z fitness people and did some new ones, and I got back this. And then what I did is I focused in on one particular model, and then I utilized that that stylistic prompt, and then applied it to use her as a consistent character, whether it's with battle ropes, lifting weights, looking to the right, looking to the left, holding in a bowl of granola, and then put her, of course, with her cohorts. And here, as you can see, her CrossFit people. So you can see I was able to control that. And then I said, oh, what if I do that exact same descriptive, but put packaging in there? And I got that. And of course, I couldn't help myself. I had to throw in the paleo granola in there as well. But of course, you utilize the same stylistic prompt to put it in the right kind of background. So that was really interesting to see, to play with. And so that allows me to kind of take these boards and go, oh, okay, great. Now I can work with my photographer and say, this is how we should be looking at shooting. And we can then talk back and forth. And I thought this was an interesting way, a possible way to do this. So, all right. So how might this affect your overall future, or my future, or just over us all as an industry? I know that there's a lot of things going on in this area. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I think the bigger thing is really get to know and really know the issues. What is happening? Really stay on top of what's going on, with the overall conversation in terms of what that means to us, artists, writers, etc. And I, from the very beginning, I started finding very conversations. These are great links for you to take a look at. Likewise, I've also provided some really good resources for you to download if you want to fast track your learning quickly. If you're just starting, or just kind of look at these various ways of doing it. Here is Vilio Matos for packaging, or Brian Skies for just AI overall exploration and overview of how to create prompts. And then, of course, Sherry Horowitz, Conjure. She's got some great resources for you to download as well. Other resources that are all online, some of you might already know, Will Wolfkin's GitHub, all the different types of styles. Really work with those. You have Prompt Builder. We have some stuff for Dolly. Here's some stuff for playground, as well as troubleshooting some of your text prompts too as well. So again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but and then these are the people that I like, that I also follow as well. Matt Wolf, Kaizen AI, Christian Hadron from Tokenized and Theoretical Media. Really take a look at what they're up to. Matt Wolf does a great job of putting these future tools together that you can see every week, some of the latest stuff that comes up. And then, of course, Hugging Face is another place for you to all be looking as well. And then if we just think about what's taking place in the future, and I mean, these are probably going to be very old very quickly, but they're coming. For example, Dragon or Drag Your GAN AI, which is like Photoshop on steroids. Text to Performer, where you're just basically writing text for the model to turn around in various poses. And then there's Prom AI, which is sort of like Viscom AI, also used by different types of transportation designers and so on. And then finally, this other one, which I know I got to utilize and have fun with, and I've seen it. It's getting it's getting really good, in fact. But it's this particular one here, which is Blockade. And so this is a fun one because it's 360. So it's called Blockade Labs. And you can see me, I'm drawing in here, and I'm asking for it to to be, in a background on a white, countertop. And so you can see I can go up and down, you can see the space that is being created. And here it is. So probably in a few seconds, you'll see it pop up. So how wild is that? And you can kind of see the overview. Now, I'm sure if I, took the time to really sketch it carefully, who knows? But I mean, that was just sloppy sketch, but you can see where that came in from just testing that. So, all right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed the overview. Hopefully that gave you some ideas in terms of how you might utilize this. But first and foremost, just, once you do, just have fun and don't forget to come up for air. Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to speaking with you some more.